So there's a lot of definitions to biohacking, and I've distilled it over the last 10 years to just simply meaning biohacking. Bio means life, using science and technology to optimize your life. The number one biohack that I guarantee you're not doing is putting your feet on Mother Earth. We're designed to be outside, not inside. We're in these rooms we're sitting in, 70% more toxic than being outside, just by being here. So something to just consider. If you can get yourself outside 50% of the more of the time, 25% or 10%, like just little increments, you'll just significantly notice different results in your energy, in your focus, in your stamina, all the things.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. I am broadcasting live from my new home here in the Dominican Republic, and that was a really good move. A move I made that I'm not so sure about, though, is welcoming in a co-host. So for the first time, I've ceded some control of this thing I love, this Tribe of Millionaires podcast, to Grant Warrington. Hi, Grant.
Hey, buddy. First, I want to thank GoBundance for making me the new host. It was a long time coming. I think this is going to help the show. That's why I came on here to be the new host. So thanks for conceding, Jamie, to be co-host.
Over my dead body. And GoBundance has nothing to say about this, just so you know. This is 100% Jamie Gruber, all me, nothing about you. You are but a side note on this entire journey. That's all you are.
Got it.
We clear?
Oh, I'm gonna love this. Yeah,
crystal clear. You're supposed to say
crystal. Yeah.
So, dude, we made this move 3 weeks ago now, as we record this episode. And right now, if you're watching on video, I got a mic just standing in front of me, staring at me in the face. I can't get my mic stand to hook up. Wi-Fi might cut out. Warning for everybody. I don't know. We'll see. We're in a temporary Airbnb now, and then we'll move to our permanent digs in 3 weeks? Yeah, the end of September. So October 1st, we move to a more permanent place, and I'll actually be able to buy my own Wi-Fi, high-speed Wi-Fi, so that I'm not dealing with some of the pops. But I have literally everything off other than this in the entire house, just to hope and pray that we get through this hour. So whatever that's worth. That's why it looks a little different for me. So you ready for this, Grant? You sure you're ready?
Who, Brett or me?
Grant, I said.
Oh, yeah, I'm ready. Let's get this thing going. We've been talking about you for 5 minutes now. I'm
I know, but here's the thing. Brett. If the co-host, everybody's got to see, if the co-host doesn't know his own name,
that's a problem.
Demerit. Just so you know. Anyway, let's bring in our guest. You ready?
Let's do it.
Here we go. So we have today in the Tribe of Millionaires room, Brett Harmeling. He's a GoBundance member. He's a biohacker. He's a Renaissance man, an energy healer, and a serial entrepreneur. You name it. The guy does it all. It's amazing to have you, Mr. Brett Harmeling. Welcome, brother.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me. And I am so blessed that I get two hosts instead of one, because I think that it'll be compelling into the conversations we're about to get into.
Just reserve judgment until the end. That's what I would encourage you to do. So Brett, you're down in Houston. I know how engaged you are with, especially that Houston chapter and everything. But give us a little bit about you. Are you from Houston? What's your origins look like? Kind of give us your 5-minute origin story.
Yep, came from a small Dutch village in Wisconsin called Oostburg. My ancestors, a little over 100 years ago, came over from Oostburg, Netherlands, and they actually made an official Dutch settlement. And so I grew up on a small farm there, started a paper route when I was 8 years old. I played golf, hockey, basketball, soccer. I was involved in our community. And as you may imagine, everyone was pretty much related. And so we were a very religious family. And we also did a lot of family trips. And so my upbringing taught me a lot of hard lessons and responsibility at a young age, growing up on a farm, having a paper route. And I was one of 5. And so I tried not to get lost in the mix as much as possible, which we'll probably touch on a little bit later. After, my upbringing, when I was 18, I went to college. I went on an academic golf and music scholarship. Yes, my school and my university was expensive. It was Carthage College. I also pursued my leadership certification through the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And so education's always been something that's important to me. I had a mentor at a young age tell me that education equals economic freedom.
Mm.
And an important lesson that I saw and witnessed, my parents, nothing against them, and only respect, but I didn't want to work my whole life to become a millionaire. I wanted to fast track that by engaging and getting myself involved in circles like Tribe of Millionaires, and also institutions that could really advance the potential and intellect of myself, so I could make a bigger impact on the world.
Yeah, that's tweetable. I like that. Now, you got a golf scholarship to college. What's your handicap? That's the first question. Got to be.
Okay, so back then I didn't really have a handicap. I was also a caddy at Whistling Straits for 6 years, and so my practice course was literally one of the best courses in the world.
Yeah.
And so very grateful for that opportunity. One thing my dad did is my parents put my brother and I through the Kohler Golf Academy, which gave us, the tools, the foundational tools to kind of take your golf game to the next level. And we learned at a young age. And so now that I'm older, I'm no longer like a scratch golfer. However, I will still shoot in the 70s because it's just built into my DNA at this point.
Good for you, man. That's incredible. You said 5 kids in the family. Is everybody spread out at this point, or where's the family kind of landed?
Yep. So my oldest sister, Jessica, she lives in Lake Tahoe. My middle sister, Heather, has a family in Michigan, next to you. Well, I guess you moved now, but near Grant.
Yeah.
She was a missionary in the Philippines for 17 years, which is pretty remarkable story. And then my next sister, we unfortunately lost in a dive boat fire 3 years ago, September 2nd. So we're missing her. And then my youngest brother lives in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Wow. So you had a sister in the Philippines, dive boating, people. So what's the foundation of all of this? Like your parents, like how did 5 of you, it sounds like very diverse, very mission focused kids, go out and do the things that you're doing in the world? Because it sounds like your mission, it lives in your siblings, or the legacy of your siblings in one case, in the case of your sister. Tell me about your parents in that regard. How did they instill this in you, or did it just kind of happen?
Yeah, I mean, ever since I was a kid, we've done mission trips and we've always been volunteering. And, my parents are like stewards of philanthropy, and so we always, like, for instance, my dad's retired and he won like servant of the year or something for the food bank. And he's like 70 years old. And so you can just, it's a testament. My parents like really led by example. And how that all kind of happened is my mom started a dive company in 1972 in Santa Cruz, California, and she had 3 daughters there, and then went through some challenging life situations, and then moved the family to Wisconsin, which is where my dad was. And so then 10-year gap between my youngest sister, the one that we lost, and me. And so a lot of hard times in between those with, trying to have kids and whatnot. And so I'm kind of like the miracle kid. And what's cool about it is I'm from 14 generations. And so there's 14 people, 14 generations before me. And so it was important for my dad, especially, to have a boy, to carry out the Harmeling name. So it's pretty cool.
Talk to me about your sister that passed. She was 10 years older than you, it sounds like, correct?
Yeah, I believe she was 41 at the time of her death. So she was just badass, like in and of itself, the word. She lived like most people dreamed, meaning like she took people on adventures all across the world. She did stuff for, National Geographic and Discovery, and was a marine biologist and had like tracked over 5,000 dives. And she was the kind of person that you'd be underwater with, and she would point something out to you that you would have just like never even looked at, and then make it do something. And then all of a sudden it's this beautiful, like rainbow colored fish or some crazy shit. And then all of a sudden you're at 200 feet deep and you've only gone 100 feet before. And like, so Gigi just like was very smart, and also very, she was like a creative genius. Right. And so she always like didn't let other people's fear hold them back from living like a full experience.
Wow.
And so like
did she leave anybody behind? Husband, kids, anything like that?
Or my brother-in-law, Dan Chua. So he lives in South Lake Tahoe, and he's also building a really cool house in Baja, California. So he's still, near and dear to my heart. I love him. He's an amazing man. And I'm grateful she left him with us, because I still get to do cool adventures and trips with him. So.
Your parents still around?
Yep. Yeah, my parents are 70, 74. They're still in Oostburg, Wisconsin.
How is, I mean, you get to observe this as a sibling, losing a sibling like that. That's a pretty deep thing. And then I'll kind of leave this topic, but what about your parents? How have you watched them go through? I can't imagine you're a parent, right? I can't imagine as a parent losing a kid at any age. I don't care how old or young they might be. I don't know. How did your parents take it? How are they doing now? Like, I'm just kind of curious how that grieving process was.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be irresponsible for me to talk about anybody else's grieving process besides my own, because we all heal in different ways and it's a journey. It's not linear. And so I think that my parents handled it pretty well. I think having gone through a lot of hard life experiences, my mom did specifically, and trying to have kids and whatnot, I do believe that having a larger family lessened the burden a little bit, because she still has 4 of us. Now, none of us live in Oostburg anymore, so we're a little spread out, but we do go home and visit. But that's grief and death and tragedy really are a great teacher and a lesson for us to realize the importance of life in and of itself. So,
gotcha.
They brought the family super close, very close, and we're able to all kind of put our beliefs and kind of like, I'm kind of the black sheep of the family, right? Entrepreneur, like very outgoing entrepreneur. And I saw that from my mom and my dad as well. And it was something that I learned at a young age, that I wanted to work with organizations and in organizations, because I see jobs as like, if you have a job with someone that you're aligned with, it's actually an investor of your dreams. And so many people these days are entrepreneurs. Oh, I would never work for someone else. That's a great methodology. But there, in today's economy, I believe that, intrapreneurship, where you're an entrepreneur within an organization, is profoundly impactful, because I'm a better together type person. I think that together we can make a major, major impact if we share intellect and our collective genius, right? So
makes sense.
And Brett, I just want to say we're in a GoPod together, and just touching back on that living life to the fullest, like, you truly bring that to our GoPod and to all of us, and I want to commend you on that. And it probably has a lot to do with the experience you went through, but we all just really appreciate you and making us aware of that too. I just want to commend you on that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm honored and blessed to be a part of that GoPod grant with you. And also just, GoBundance has really, man, just joining like a simple group like GoBundance, I can no longer play small. So I'm always in the challenge state. I'll present my one sheet and they'll be like, well, I think you can add a 0 to that. And I'd be like, well, damn, I didn't even think about that and what that would look like and whatnot. And so I'm just really grateful, because I believe, like, you can either quit or keep going, and they both may be hard. And so I'm like a keep going kind of person, like the little engine that could, right? So.
And you're our biohacking expert too, by the way. So I'm excited to get into that. I want to hear a lot more about that too.
Awesome.
Well, Grant, ask the question then, Grant. Just ask him about biohacking.
Man, I wanted him to rip. I don't have to ask him a question. He's amazing in this space. So tell me a little bit more.
Define it. We'll define it first, biohacking, right? And then, give us, what does that mean for you?
Exactly. Yeah. Go ahead, Brett.
Okay, guys. So there's a lot of definitions to biohacking, and I've distilled it over the last 10 years to just simply meaning biohacking. Bio means life, using science and technology to optimize your life. And that's
good.
it.
That's
it's
efficient.
Really a simple thing. And so, someone that travels like myself and has a lot of things going on, I have to optimize my environments. And so that, and I also had a traumatic brain injury as a kid. And so I'm really affected by LED lights and hard lighting. And so to remediate the risks and the damages that those things cause to my brain, I wear glasses and I travel with a red light and I try to follow circadian rhythm. So the science of that simple methodology is, when the sun rises, it's time to wake up. If you can look at that red glaring sun, you're actually engaging and stimulating your cells. It's called photobiomodulation. And then likewise, when the sun goes down, we're really not designed to be around any type of lights, right? Besides fires and candles. And so, and man, we live in a a high impact, high growth world. And so of course I'm not like, okay, put the computer down for the rest of the night, but there are different applications and programs and devices and tools that I utilize to like really mitigate the risks of those lights. And so that's just one simple example. But when people ask me about biohacking, I'm like, the number one biohack that I guarantee you're not doing is putting your feet on Mother Earth. And I say that, and people are like, I'm like, when's the last time you actually put your feet in the grass or the ocean? Because the most charged place in the world is the first 10 feet of where the sand meets the ocean. There's the most amount of electrons and energy right there. And so if you're there, you're getting major charge. If you're on the grass, it's pretty good charge. If you're on the concrete, not a lot of charge. It's really simple. And I say that because we, just like plants, grow from where we're grounded. And so it's really unlike anybody to have a major growth in their life, whether it's through a business or a health thing, if you're not grounded. And so if you can get connected and plugged into earth, that's why like even hugging a tree might sound crazy, but the roots run deeper, man. The roots run deeper. And so they're more energetically charged. It may seem like a crazy thing. That's because not a lot of people do it. And it is kind of crazy. And so I just tell people to get outside. We're designed to be outside, not inside. We're in these rooms we're sitting in, 70% more toxic than being outside, just by being here. So something to just consider. If you can get yourself outside 50% of the more of the time, or even start by 25% or 10%, like just little increments, you'll just significantly notice different results in your energy, in your focus, in your stamina, all the things.
Grant, you're going to move to Florida soon, so you'll have that ocean access. It is true, man. Like that, being out there here, like just being able to walk out on, like there is a soothingness to it. It's not just the imagery and everything. So, Grant, that's all you, buddy.
Yeah, that's, and I'll tell you the truth, because like I said, we're in a Go Pod, so we've talked about things like this, and I do go out, I ground, right, and I actually do hug the tree in my backyard. But what I do is I look around to make sure my neighbors aren't watching me, unfortunately, and I hug the tree, just from our conversations. I wanted to touch on one thing though. You mentioned that brain injury. Can you go talk a little more about that? Like what happened, and is that where your journey started? Did you need answers? Is that what led you to biohacking?
So having a brain injury and cracking my skull open and not being able to remember my mom's name really put me into a place of like curiosity of like, wow, if that can happen that fast in a millisecond of time, like I need to really protect this noggin, right? Like it's a real thing. And so I take it very seriously. What ended up happening? Okay, what do? They give you a drug that allows you to focus and think and feel human and normal again. And so they put me on, basically prescription methamphetamine, Adderall. And so I didn't know any better. I was young. And so I just took that. And then, as I gained wisdom and knowledge and like really got curious about what I was putting in my body, it was actually in college, and some girl like asked to buy this thing asked to buy it from me. And I was just really confused because I'm like, my whole life I just been taking it, and I had not known that it was like a super drug. And so I just was taking it like unconsciously, but then I got really curious about it and I started studying it. And so then I can thankfully say that I've been off of Adderall since I was 21 years old, and I'm 34 now. But I will say, after coming off of a drug like that was administered, by a doctor, prescribed, like just easy, simple, take this and you'll be able to think and feel normal. Well, I didn't feel normal. I felt inhuman. And so I had to come up with different methodologies, more organic things. And so that's what led me into my biohacking journey, my yoga journey, my meditation journey, because meditation, for anybody that's afraid of it or doesn't do it, it just simply means to become familiar with. And so when you meditate, you become more familiar with who you are, and you get to go deeper. And sometimes going deep is scary. And so a lot of people, not a lot of guys, but a lot of people tend to, not talk about meditation or go deep. But Joe Dispenza leads multi-hour, multi-weekend, long day programs that really teach the power of meditation and anchoring into that belief, like living to 200 years old. Yeah, it sounds crazy, but when you train your body and your cells to believe that this body is going to 200, Then when you're 50, you're like, oh my God, only 1/4 of my life is over. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Versus, oh, it's half over already. What am I going to do? I'm going to have to start taking anti-inflammatory pain pills and da 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 da. No, it's not the point of life. We're made to move and to be outside and to thrive. And so that's
I love meditation does get you. I talked about this on a prior episode. Meditation really does get you like tuned into that intuitive guidance system that you have inside of you. I love it. What was you said meditation means what again? What was the actual meaning of meditation?
Meditation simply means to become familiar with.
To become familiar with. That makes so much sense to me because that's the objective I have now as I've gotten more and more clear on exactly what I'm trying to do with meditation. Not just get quiet and not think. I think that's the misperception of meditation, but it's to get, connected to me, to who I am, to my inner being, if you will. Do you have any deficits now? Anything that's that sort of, you mentioned the lights and that sort of thing, but is there anything that you struggle with not being on Adderall and more going the biohacking route after this TBI, this traumatic brain injuries? Are there any things that you, I don't know, that the Adderall maybe did help, but you're just not going to go there because of what it is. And I get why you don't.
Yeah, I would say since I'm a high energy person that like uses different supplements in nature to heal my body. So for instance, like instead of taking Adderall, I grow my own mushrooms and make a compound that I take in a pill form that's measured and weighed and very methodically done to help me focus and give me energy and clarity throughout the day. It's not illegal. It's not a psychedelic. It's not something that's like banned. And so I can travel with it and take it. But really the thing is, that down regulating thing. So to down regulate is to really step in from this high energetic state into like, okay, I can just enjoy the mountains, or I can enjoy where I'm at instead of always having to go, 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 go. Because when you're on something like Adderall or any type of drug that controls your energy, like you don't have control. It's like gone. It's just like you're on the train. Yeah. And so you're just kind of getting pulled around. And it's an amazing drug. And so the hardest thing is like there's nothing like it in the world. And if there is, and it's natural, please reach out to me.
You're and Grant, jump in anytime you want to. Just like bump me aside here. But you're a parent now. You have a daughter, I believe. Am I right?
No, I have a son.
Son, I'm sorry. How old is he?
So Logan is 11 months old today.
Okay. Do you have at this point? I'm curious, being a biohacker and you're so well studied on all of this, everything that maybe the medical community says. Most biohackers and see things very differently and for very good reason. I side with the biohackers. Have you now, and do you anticipate coming up against any issues, any concerns, anything with how you want your son to go about this world from a medical standpoint, vaccinations, anything like that? I'm just kind of curious if there's any conflict that you've had or that you anticipate having, given your philosophy around biohacking versus maybe what standard medical care looks like nowadays.
That's a great question. And so I want to preface it by saying like, whatever you decide as a parent for your kids is like, I totally respect it. I'm not here to tell anybody how to do it. We read a book called The Vaccine Friendly Plan. And so that book really allowed us to think, and my wife, Lucia, is an entrepreneur and has her own, she's a RD, registered dietitian. And so she teaches and author of a book called Intuitively Full, Trust Your Body, Change Your Life. And so she teaches people, primarily women and athletes and high level, C-level executive people, how to eat based on what they feel. And so we read this book and it was really polarizing to know like the amount of aluminum and things that are put in these types of things are really hard on a perfect innocent little kid's system. And so we chose this vaccine friendly plan and we calculated the risks. So yeah, if you're afraid of your kid getting polio, then you would probably get a polio vaccine. If you're not, if you're like, our kid's not, there's like, and then if he did, could he survive that? And so you play this game and you have hard conversations because maybe someone doesn't want to believe in one or the other. And then you make a decision. But, we believe as a family that God made us perfect, even if we're completely flawed. Like our imperfections is actually why we're perfect. And like our unique peculiarities is like what the world needs. And we all have this, God-shaped hole in our heart that we're just always trying to fill up. And that's why I'm connecting and meeting with people that, you get that good feeling inside of you. That's like a real thing. This is what my wife teaches. Your body's innately intelligent and is literally incapable of lying to itself. And so if you have a bad feeling in your body and you still go against what your body's saying, like, it's probably not going to be a good result to that decision.
We're going to go to energy healing here in a second, because that's a very interesting concept to me. I love the idea of the chakras and releasing it. It's all very fascinating to me, and I'd love to get your take on all of that.
Chakra.
Just staying on this topic. It's not chakra? Am I saying it wrong?
No, it's just funny. Yeah, it's just like so many people are focused on the chakras. I'm like, dude, I'm a 500-hour certified yoga instructor, and like I've studied chakras and all the energy systems and whatnot. And it's a term that so many people just loosely throw out, and it just makes me laugh.
You're saying I'm a loose chakra guy?
No, I seen this shirt and it says, "Don't fuck with me," because my chakras are lying. Don't fuck with me.
I like that.
Give us some backstory on the yoga. Like you're a yoga instructor. You just say that, but that, like, there's so much more. You're so much bigger than that. Why don't you give us some backstory and the benefits to that?
Yeah. So yoga, just like meditation, can be scary, right? And so many people that are yoga opposed or whatnot, I'm like, yoga simply means to yoke or to unite or to connect. And so the more that you can move your body and get more connected to yourself, the more united you are. And as we know, whenever we're grounded and united and connected to our truth, like, there's not a lot of things that can throw us off our journey. Like, we know where we have that commitment and that feeling in our body that's like, I know that where I'm going is not easy maybe, but I'm going to do it anyway. And so yoga has enabled me to be in front of thousands and thousands of people in really cool places all across the world, and lead people back into their own power. I'm a big Tony Robbins guy, and Tony Robbins, the first thing he told me when I met him was like, I'm not here to fix you. I'm not here to fix you. Like, you're not broken. I don't believe anybody's broken. I'm here to unleash the power that's inside of you, so that when your head tells you that it's not okay, you actually know that you're okay and you can keep moving forward. And I found that same energy and power in yoga. And so when people leave my yoga class, my commitment is to make sure that they leave feeling more empowered, full of energy, rich with vitality, be able to manifest limitless possibilities in their life. And I know that because they leave feeling more connected to, okay, yeah, maybe I need to change that relationship. Maybe I need to ask for a raise. Maybe I need to quit drinking. Like, whatever the thing is, yoga leads you to the thing. And it's a beautiful community. And I'm so grateful because, man, 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, actually now, almost 11, it was like real uncommon, real uncommon to be, a white, heterosexual, conservative yoga instructor, male, So I was like, okay, but for me, this path really, I'm called to, and it works. And that's why I stepped in. That's why I stepped into the yogic journey. And it's just, guys, progress begins when you start telling yourself the truth, and yoga leads you deeper to your truth.
Resolve this for me, because I love everything that you just said. And you talked a moment ago about Tony Robbins. Hey, I'm not going to fix you before you believe. And I agree with you that, God created us as perfect beings, right? We don't need to be fixed. Now, contrast that with, when you heal energy. Explain that part of it. What does healing mean in that regard? Does it mean like broken and needs fixing, or is it more out of alignment, needs alignment, or is it completely different? So go through what exactly is energy healing from your perspective, and what do you do in that regard?
Yeah, so I believe the body can heal itself when given the right tools. And so I focus on healing from a cellular level. I think a lot of people focus on bigger picture. I focus on cellular level healing, which involves things like grounding in nature and red lights and hyperbaric chambers and ice baths and saunas and things like that that really heal. And so when you say broken energy, there's no such thing, because either cells are alive and they're charged, they're alive and negatively charged, so they're like need some like it's like your cell is a battery, right? It's a powerhouse. Or they're dead and they need to be flushed through your lymphatic system, right? And so those are three ways that cells are. There's just like nothing really in between. And so by doing those type of things like moving your body, sweating, detoxing, exposing yourself to like what I call primitive, like ancestral therapies, things that are very natural, like cold water. it's just cold water. Like there's all these fancy ice baths out there in today's world, but really you can find cold water just about anywhere in the world, or you can make it using ice, right?
Yeah.
And so a unique concept about energy is that, maybe you guys don't know this, but emotion, right? Our emotions, like how we are energetically, is simply energy in motion. Energy in motion equals emotion. And the quality of our life depends on how we are emotionally overall. So if we're emotionally overall happy, joy, loving life, crushing it, well, then typically the energy that we have inside of us is good. If it's not, the good news is that we're humans and we're alive. If you're hearing this, and so all you need to do is move your body, because when you shift energy and you put your body into motion, you're able to change the energetic state of your body, which is called the physiology. And so when you do that, then you change the way you feel. And when you change the way you feel, then everything in your life starts changing. Like Jamie, like the first time when you meet someone, or Grant too, like when you meet someone, like your energy introduces you before you even say a word.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to know, like when you're walking down the street or you're showing up at your next GoBundance conference or wherever you're at, you typically don't need to know if you want to talk to someone, or if the energy is right, or if you're curious about someone, because like people's energy introduces them before they even speak.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I know like a couple of people, and I hate to say it, but like I get around them and I am repelled. I'm like, I don't want to be in their presence. And it's just funny. No, Jamie, you're not one of them. No. But you know what I mean? I felt that at a young age too. And I'm like, what is this? I don't understand it. But hearing that from you, that makes a lot more sense. It's just, we're charged differently, right? Am I correct in thinking that way?
Well, yeah, I think you're spot on, because whether it's a person or an opportunity, like what's for you will not lower your vibration. That's how you'll know. That's how you'll know you made the right choice. And that goes back to that your body's innate ability to tell you whether or not you're making a good decision. So if you override that decision, just be prepared that it could be a rough outcome.
Got it. I got one more for you, and I know you always bust our balls on this one, but I'm going to bring it up. Cold showers. So I don't have an ice bath. I don't have any of that, but as you know, I'm doing 30 seconds, in a cold shower, as cold as it'll get. I know that doesn't compare, but what are your thoughts on that? Is that something someone can do? Start with a cold shower, or am I wasting my time?
No, I think any time that you put your body into a situation where there's discomfort experienced, and so the science behind the cold is being radically studied globally on a very, very serious scale, because you're starting to see specifically older people that have done ice baths and saunas their whole life, living just clearly more abundantly healthy lives. And one of the reasons is we just talked about cellular rejuvenation and energy. It forces those dead or those uncharged cells to go through your lymphatic system to be processed. And so as a result, you might only do 30 seconds to start with, but as you build up resiliency, that's something that's really important, is, your body's resilience. So your body's ability to like heal in the face of trauma. Like even when life is like, boom, you might know guys that like MMA fighters, Dave in our group, like you guy gets kicked in the face. Like how does the guy keep going? Well, to an untrained athlete, you don't.
Yeah.
To a trained athlete, you're like, okay, that's a little chink in the armor. I'm going to keep going. I got to keep laser focused. I need to, like, I'm not dead. I'm still alive. So let's keep going. And so until you lose that consciousness, it's a something that will really shift energetically your whole system.
How is from your standpoint? I know everybody's a little bit different, but the food is such a food and what you intake is such an important part of, whatever, everything, how much inflammation you have, what your energy levels are, whether it's healthy or not, obviously. I've seen so many things. I sent an account to Grant, this carnivore guy, right?
Yeah.
The guy that
Paul Saladino.
Paul Saladino, the carnivore MD, which is fascinating. Trying to get him on the show. Yeah. So somebody like that has like, just eat meat, liver, snout. Literally, he's like snout to tail. Just eat animal, no plants, nothing. Then you have the other side of it, plants, and this is from the earth and da 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 da. From your perspective, what are some of the elements that you look at? Maybe it's not like I recommend eating this or that, or you can do it if you want. But what are some elements in nutrition that you look at or that you tune into? In your version or your not version, but in your in the way in which you choose to go about biohacking.
Yep. Well, first and foremost, I'll say by no means am I like, when you meet me in person, you'll be like, that is the fittest guy I know. Now, the healthiest person, I could be considered that. Like, I'm going to live till I'm at least 150 years old. I'm still working on that 200 mindset, but I'm like committed to 150. And so what the best thing that I've ever found is, like, anytime I'm faced with a tough decision, because I go to a lot of really fancy, nice, cool meals with investors and people in business and things like that. And so I enjoy like rich, good foods, but really, I anchor back to my roots of being a child, growing up on a farm. I'm like, literally just think about how many times what you're eating has, like, from the earth or from an animal, how many times has it been touched in the process? And the answer is the less amount of times, the better the quality of the food is likely going to be. So JERF, which stands for just eat real food. So simple, but and it's like, might sound like kind of quirky, but like, if you just eat real food, man, you got to get rid of a lot of foods. And I'm not saying I don't cheat, like I love to have a bar on the go. Like, if I'm starving myself and I'm not going to eat the bar or the whatever it is as I'm traveling, then I'm going to put myself in a worse mood. My energy will be bad, and then I'll make worse decisions. I won't have the energy and focus and clarity that I need for work and the things that I'm committed to creating. And so it's really important to just navigate that health journey and take everyone's kind of advice. Paul Saladino, the carnivore MD, he's a funny guy, right? And then Liver King, these guys, they're on to something. My favorite part about them is that they are exposing a lot of hidden truth, like all these seed oils. Like, since when was it a good idea to eat a seed oil? Seeds are made to protect things. They're like and so it's really good to just be conscious and aware of what you're putting into your body and the things that cause inflammation. Yeah,
that was one of the biggies, seed oil. I honestly never really thought about it. You get chips from Chipotle. What are they fried in, right? Like anything other than, I guess, olive oil is not a seed oil, right? This is probably the only one that's okay in some ways, but I think, right? Am I wrong on that?
Sure.
So any oil, maybe then. But the amount he does a lot of stuff on that. It's just, it's learning about all these different elements of nutrition that can impact you one way or the other. I like JERF, just eat real food. Cause a bag of Doritos is tempting sometimes, less of that is. And
better. If your body craves it, a bag of Doritos isn't going to kill you every now and then. Right. So it's satisfying that need, that want. Like, who cares? Like, it's whether or not you're, buying the bag of Cheetos every time you go to the store. Yeah. And if you have, goes back to the resilience and the mindset. Like, I could eat the bag, but what is it going to do to my system? And that's my wife's book, Intuitively Full. Yeah. It's like really learning how to navigate your mindset around food, because if you can beat the mind, then and you know how that food's going to make you feel, chances are you ain't going to eat the food.
That's a great point. It's a great point. I want to resolve one quick thing, and then we'll go to, I want to kind of talk about your serial entrepreneur journey, but back to the we talked about your son, the vaccine book that you had read, all that stuff, which was fascinating to me. What I love about everybody in GoBundance, but you in particular, is, and we share this, is that inner defiance. Like, I'm not going to be defiant just to be defiant, but like, it doesn't make sense to me, so I'm not going to go along with it, right? Like, for me, that's education. I don't believe in traditional education. I don't think it serves kids, and we see it now. Like, we put our kids into Montessori. It's not traditional, but it's not traditional in some ways. Like, there's still lines, and there's still, it's a little still too restrictive for my taste. But we'll get past that once we move back and everything. For you, I'm wondering, as you go into your son goes to school, future kids, whatever, and there's, a very fixed mindset on what is and what isn't, especially, man, not to get on a freaking rant, but especially in the school system today, right? Like, you have to do it this way, not that way. Wear this mask, don't wear that. It's over the top. So for you now, do you have plans for that with your son? Are there thoughts on are you homeschooling? Are you looking at acting academies, that kind of thing? Or are you just planning to kind of face the institution of whatever board of education you're going to have to deal with if and when you take your son to a traditional school?
Yeah, so I think we're kind of a non-traditional family in that sense. Yeah. We both believe in education. I went to Carthage College, University of Wisconsin-Madison. I got my MBA from Rice University. My wife she went to A&M and has her master's from an A&M. So we believe in education institutions, but I think the thing that set me free was having discipline as a kid, right? So we grew up in a small village, and I wasn't exposed to like radical, crazy things which really put me on a path that allowed me to flourish, right? And like make better decisions, because I was like, well, I've never seen or dealt with that thing before. Like, I don't believe in that. I'm going to keep doing what I believe in or what I've been taught. And I think there's a lot of power in that. And I just say knowledge is power, right? And so, but when you're a kid, you don't have the wisdom that adults have to make discern and good decisions for yourself. And that's where I get a little bit hesitant. Fellow GoBro Aaron Amustegi and his wife, they wrote the 5-hour school week. I'm kind of more on board with something like that, like education based on experience, but also integrating the fundamental principles of learning, like sure. Math, like doing the things. But I will say that one good thing that COVID did was it accelerated how kids learn. They're giving all these kids like, oh, this kid, like every kid has ADD, you notice these days. You know why? It's because no kid is meant to sit in a damn desk for 8 hours and learn. They're made to move. Like we're finally figuring this out generations later.
Crazy.
Crazy. Like me scrolling around in the classroom when I was a kid was actually pretty normal. I just was made to be outside. And so there's a healthy balance that's going to be found. And what COVID did was it allowed families and people to kind of up level their virtual learning experience. Something that technology is great for is it gives us the ability to connect and to really, now that we're kind of, if you don't do technology, like you're really kind of missing out on a big part of the world. And so, but you got to manage your technology or your technology will manage you, and nobody will. 100%. That's not good. It's not a good situation.
One of the blessings of enrolling in this local Montessori is they do an assessment for intake. And, it was a great test point for us with our 7-year-old, because, I come from the traditional school system. So, okay, well, I guess, what are they going to say? Like, how is he in these, like you said, core competencies like math and all this stuff? And they're like, yeah, all good. He's got one glaring opportunity. I'm like, oh, what's that? They're like, Spanish. I'm like, well, yeah, okay, we knew that. So hopefully we're here for you to fix that. That's what we need you to do. But I love the non-traditional route. And, yeah, for us, it was an interesting checkpoint to see if we were to go the traditional route, how has he been doing without the need for, like you said, what is the experiment, which is traditional school? Like, for thousands and thousands of years before, education was not sit down, bell rings, listen to that person, go to this person's office if you're not doing exactly what I tell you to do. We built it for the Industrial Revolution. That's what it was built for. The Rockefellers did. So this is the experiment gone wrong at this point, because we're in a completely different world. But anyway. You mentioned serial entrepreneurship at the jump. You talked about intrapreneurship, which I love that concept. Where are you today? What are you working on? If you want to just kind of talk about some aspect of your journey, you could talk about anything here, like where you started and where you've morphed to, or just, hey, this is where I'm focused today. But tell me about your serial entrepreneurship path and or intrapreneurship path.
Awesome. Yeah. So my path and my journey is involved and weaved across several different industries, but primarily real estate and technology. And so when I moved to Chicago, I was in IT consulting as well as real estate. I moved down to Houston to do specialty chemicals and run a company that represented 22 global manufacturers of specialty chemicals. And so awesome opportunity, grew it, scaled it, sold it, had a nice severance. I was young at that age. And so really cool opportunity. And then I actually had an opportunity to work in cyber intelligence. And so I worked in the agency for 18 months and oversaw some pretty powerful things like human trafficking and narcos. And so during my time in that venture, I was able to really take a look behind the scenes on things that happen in our reality that we're not aware of. And so I was going to work, fighting the good fight, doing good work, but I was also like, man, this is not in alignment with having a family and creating a future of freedom. And so after my year and a half was up, I did not renew my contract, which really did not make them happy because I was involved in some pretty private things, and getting clearance and all that takes some time. And so anyway, navigated out of that, met with my financial advisor. He's like, have you ever considered doing what I did? And that's when I launched my financial advising practice in 2015. Grew and scaled that to roughly 20 million AUM with about $1 billion of insurance placed. And so nice. That was cool. But then I also, once again, was many years in, I helped a lot of people, including my wife, leave the W-2, get to creating their own company and whatnot. It's a whole nother story. And so then I started realizing like, wow, I'm helping a lot of families get to this place. And, with more families equals more responsibility. As I continue to grow my practice, I'm going to have more responsibility. And I'm like, not that I'm afraid of that, but actually want to go the other way. And so I actually ended up transitioning my practice over to a firm in Houston. And so it's very well managed, and I still bring people in for traditional financial planning and advising, just on a consulting, because it's still a business of mine, right? And so that business, then I have a biotech company, a yoga company, and so all these companies kind of work hand in hand. The biotech company is a holding company. I have many brands that I'm sponsored by or that I'm an ambassador or affiliate for, and they roll up underneath the company. And then now, which I'm and then moved back into real estate. I was working for let me go back a little bit. I missed something. There's a unique opportunity that I had in the space of ESG, which is environmental, social, and governance. So me and a team of people built an asset management digital wealth platform that we put onto a platform called NextSeed, which is a crowdfunding platform where you can invest in small local businesses. Well, so we democratize access to capital so people could put money towards something that, mattered. And so the whole conversation of, can I do good and do well at the same time? So that was a really unique opportunity, but we grew it so fast and it scaled so quickly that we got bought in literally 14 months. And so that was the end of the road and the path for that. But I had really good experience with family offices and some pretty ultra high net worth individuals, leading those boardroom conversations about rolling, a portion of their portfolio into these strategies to be in alignment with their customers' needs and values.
Did you get bought by a family office, private equity? What did that look like? Was it a bolt-on for like a family office that purchased you?
Yeah, it was a larger brokerage on the East Coast.
Nice. So amazing. Wow. And this is a full thing. You had Reg CF certified, you had to go through an entire setup process to get this off the ground. And then you were able to sell it in less than a year and a half.
That's correct.
Wow.
And so that was a fun journey, and it allowed me to like see how that whole world of scalability from small to medium sized enterprise to going pretty big worked out. And so then after that, and as you can tell, I've done a lot of seems like a lot of quick things, but all these opportunities were very significant. Like I jump in and they're big, like bolsterous like opportunity. And then because it was such a good opportunity and we had the tools we needed and the resources we needed to scale it, we of course got interest from other people because we made such a big impact. And so then I went to work for a private equity. And so I'd never been in private equity. So then I went into private equity. This is when COVID was starting to hit. And I worked in private equity real estate in Houston, Texas, and joined GoBundance and got my MBA from Rice University. That opportunity was significant because it was cool because I never got to work in that space. But what it did is it really opened the aperture, the lens to see what, how, and what that space was like. And there's obviously, just like any industry or space, there's its pluses and minuses. But I found myself being very effective with raising capital and also just having conversations around impact. And so as I navigated through that opportunity, because it was very land-based. And so what that looks like is kind of slow-paced, and I'm a fast-paced guy, if you can't tell by now. And so I like making change and things happen quick, and I thrive in like very fast-paced and dynamic environments where there's kind of like chaos. Like I actually thrive well in chaos. And so just recently, I just accepted a director position with a multi-billion-dollar real estate firm called DLP Capital. And so I'm very grateful because I'm now aligned with a company that is aligned with my values. And so it's this beautiful autonomous relationship where I don't have to pretend to be anybody but myself. And I get to do what I'm best at to make a collective impact that is like so much more profound. It's like the job or the career that I'd prayed for that would come to me. And it came to me as a result of risking, quote unquote, where I was going by joining GoBundance. And so I was able to, meet Don Wenner and Bo Parfait, some of the leaders of DLP. Don is the founder, and so they're also Go Bros. And I was like, man, you guys are really tackling some big issues like the happiness crisis, the workforce housing crisis, things that are really important to me as well. And so we got into those conversations, and then I just had recently transitioned, and so now I'm just grateful that I get to, I really get to take a culmination of everything that I've learned and the relationships and the things that I've kind of have distilled and gained a lot of wisdom over the years. And now I'm able to put them into play and make a big impact with a company that's kind of like leading the charge in this space, by the way. And so I'm very grateful.
Love it. We're getting close to time, but Grant, I think you have a question, and then we'll wrap up with a question from the GoBundance card game. Go for it, Grant.
Yeah, I have two quick questions. Tell us about your hobbies you do. I know you're involved with beekeeping. I mean, there's some things that are really close to your heart. Can you touch on those real quick?
Definitely. So the things that are important to me are revolved around conservation. We have this beautiful world to take care of, and so I serve on the board of advisors for Hives for Heroes, which is an organization that saves bees and saves vets. I also serve for the Houston Livestock Rodeo Show on a group called Breeders Greeters. And so philanthropy is a big part of my heart. And it honestly, between that and travel and being a dad, kind of booked up. So scuba diving, golfing, hiking, like if they're Formula One racing is something that I'm really passionate about, that has been just kind of like a hobby, I guess, for a long time. I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, so watch that. I watch the Chicago Blackhawks. I like to go to games. I like experiences. So like I'm the kind of guy that just likes to really experience life to its fullest. Like I might not like the play or the thing that I'm going to go to, but I like to go for the experience. I love grilling. Like I'm a big Traeger guy. And those are some of the things that I love doing.
You got a great Instagram, by the way. I love seeing all these different things you're doing on there. I got one more question for you. Give me like 1 to 2 things back to biohacking 1 to 3 things maybe quickly that people could do, implement today that are easy that we're not thinking of. I mean, we talked about a couple of them, but what can I implement today to start on my biohacking journey?
So the number one thing that you can do today is to go outside for at least 2 times the amount of time you're going outside today. So double your outside time. Number 2 is manage your technology, which also means lights. Manage your lights. So what kind of lights are around you? Because we're light beings and we absorb energy, whether it's good or bad. And so manage your lights, and then put your body every single day, get your body into a place where you feel challenged. That doesn't mean you have to go to the gym for an hour. That could mean you hold a plank for as long as you can and you're like, you want to quit, but you push your mind past the quitting point to build that resilience and find that new edge. So my number one way to do that is obviously the ice bath. Because there's multiple effects. And just because I've been doing it for 10 years and have taught thousands of people doesn't mean I like it.
I know, right? I haven't fully gone into the ice bath thing or the cold shower thing, but my wife does, and she says she gets great benefits from it. So I believe you, and I'll have to believe her. So, all right, man. In the interest of time, we're going to wrap up. I know you got some traveling to do today. We're going to get you a question from the GoBundance card game, and the question from the 9 of clubs is: what's something you've done that you would try to dissuade others from doing? And being friends with Grant does not apply. So anything other than that.
Yeah, take that off the table.
Yeah. Anything you would dissuade others from doing?
That is a really good question. I would say off the cuff, because you did not tell me you're going to ask me this question, I would say the number one thing that I would tell people to not do is to idolize someone that you don't, that like, there has been people in my past that I've looked up to in an unhealthy way and attached myself to and thought, man, if I could be that person, my life would be so awesome. And as a result, I lost myself in the process. I sacrificed my own unique gifts and like my own presence in the world. And so like, if there's one thing that I honestly would never do again, it's like, I want to be like that person in an unhealthy way. It's, it's good to see good things in other people because they're mirrors for us. But honestly, there's people that I've idolized in the past and that have sacrificed my own unique brand and image as a result of. So
great advice, man. Great advice. And I tell nobody that question, the GoBundance card game question before. People are like, oh, what's the question? I'm like, nope, you will not know until you ask it. So I love seeing the answer on the spot, and great job with that answer. G-Dubs, good job on this episode, my friend. Number 1 in the books. You feeling good?
Yeah, that was great, man. I'm really excited. That was really good, buddy.
You sound excited. Wow, that was a really exciting sound that you just made. I'm really excited. Brett, where can people reach out, learn more, do whatever they need to do to find you?
Yes, of course. Well, I'm a pretty open book. So I'm on LinkedIn, my name, Brett Harmeling. I'm on Instagram, at Brett Harmeling. And feel free to put my email or phone on this podcast. I would love to connect, and just something that I want to leave you guys with is just, really forgive yourself for not knowing what you didn't know before you learned it. So anything we talked about today or anything that you ever learned, like just, forgive yourself. You have to learn things before you can hold yourself accountable. And
love it,
that's
man.
good.
I'm going to forgive
myself. I'm going to forgive myself for accepting this position, by the way.
You should.
I love it.
With that in mind, Brett, thanks again, brother. We'll talk soon. And Grant, always a pleasure. See you guys.
Thanks, guys.